Hello and welcome to Flirting with the Edge. I'm Lila Symphony, and today my heart is excited because I'm having the first recording actually with someone, and it's not anyone. Her name is Sanne Samina Hanssen. She is to me a friend, a colleague, a sister, a priestess, and so much more. So first of all, hello Sanne and welcome.
Hi.
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 Hmm. I've invited Sanne, so I've invited you. I'm gonna say it out loud. I've already told you, but people who may be watching don't, some of you may know you and some may not. I've invited you and I told you because to me you're truly inspirational. And the way that you do wear like not a lot of masks, even though you play with masks, but you actually embody many parts of humanity that most of us are actually afraid of wearing, of embodying. And here I'm actually hearing the word pain, but beauty, daring, and also secrecy in a beautiful way. But as I asked you, how would you like to be introduced? You told me that your partner said you are a natural selector of real things. So my dear son, could you please tell me, because I actually you just give me a snippet of what that means, like natural selector of real things. What does that mean for you? And where does that come from?
Yeah, it came up yesterday, and for me it's really beautiful because in the context of knowing myself since I'm little as very sensitive, emotionally and also physically, and having a history of health challenges and autoimmune challenges, and always thinking and feeling like I'm too sensitive. And all of a sudden this new framing came, like a natural selector of real things. If it's not real, like for example, if it's processed food, my body will respond, it will inflame. If someone is being insincere, I start feeling uncomfortable and like and for me sometimes then it's hard to function, which is something that has frustrated me in the past, and it still does. And there's also so much beauty in it. So that's why I so much like this framing. Yeah.
I love that. A selector of natural real things. The part of you that reclaimed the quote unquote, oversensitivity to actually make it like a tracker of truth, of like what is truly natural, right? Did I
Yeah,
understand correctly? Yeah?
that's how I see it. Yeah.
Amazing. And as it's one of the first video, I just want to name it openly. Like everything right here is going to be just spontaneous, authentic, vulnerable. We don't know what's going to come. I'm both nervous and excited, so I will slow down. As there are many questions that I'm actually super excited to go and dive with you, Sanne. And I said you had multiple like roles, and so I'm gonna just name a few of them because for me, like they're like not so common, and yet like yeah, like you're an actress. For me, you're also a tantric shamanic being. You are also, wait, you had so many of them, and now there are the two of them that are coming through. You're an extra, like not extraterrestrial, but for me, you do embody like something new, like innovation. And yet you said, like a natural selector, you're very like grounded and connected, like to this plane and to Earth. I am going to actually start with this oversensitivity that I find super heart touching. And that for me, you are a being that really touches hearts. How did you like that? How was this process? Because nowadays there are a lot of like fake news. It's like we are in the era of like fakeness or trying on natural things. How is it for you to live in a world where there is so much like fake or processed? Like, how do you navigate that? And how do you connect to this oversensitivity, as you called it?
Mm. Um, well, first of all, in a very practical way, I take really good care of my body, because if I
Mm.
don't, then I get sick. So that looks like, just actually, to me, it's very simple. But in the time that, as you mentioned, that we're living in, it's actually not. It seems like it's not simple, because almost everything is processed. So everything that used to be there ages ago, that doesn't disturb my body, for example. And part of me believes that that's best for any body, the kind of food that a body recognizes. The more it's processed, the less you can recognize it. So that's something I try. And for example, now for the last 1.5 years, I've been traveling with my partner in our car to South Africa, through West Africa. And it's very challenging to then, find, well, it's challenging anywhere, really. I mean, maybe it's even less challenging in Africa. If you go into a supermarket in Europe, so many things are processed. So that's the first thing. I take super good care of my body, and I like
Mm.
doing that. Like, it's not even a task. Sometimes it's a task to explain to people, why it's necessary, because uh, in my mind, some people think it's a bit unnecessary.
Mhm.
And then I feel uncomfortable, and then I feel like, oh, all the thoughts that come with that. So then I work with that, but for me it really works. So that's the really practical thing. And then, yeah, fake news. I mean, there was a point um where I decided that I wanted to stop watching the news, which was when I found myself really deep in when the terrorist attacks in Brussels happened. And then there was this live stream, and there was a lot of misinformation that got corrected, you know, that got published and then corrected afterwards. And I noticed that I just got so into this fear bubble. And then at that moment, in that moment, I decided I don't want to watch the news anymore. And up until now, I don't really watch the news. But now, of course, when you're on Instagram, then also the news comes to you in a way, or at least in my algorithm.
Mhm.
Um, and then to know, is it real or not? And then, I think when it gets, when I feel I get emotionally uh, drained or absorbed by the screen, for example, and whether things are real or not, I think of uh, one of my dream teachers who always says, everything is a dream. So, you know, and then I always think, just be kind and do good and try to be, in the now, and just put my phone away. And then,
Mm.
but it's a lot, because there's so much happening. And then there's also so much happening that is not actually happening, but some people want us to think it's happening. So, yeah, I don't know if I
Mhm.
answered your question, but
Yeah, let me know if that's more or less correct, but I'm hearing like the actually coming back to simplicity in the sense of like what isn't processed, all kind of unprocessed, both information and food. And actually for you, it's not hard to do that. It's harder to explain or make like people understand, but for you actually coming back to that is the easiest. In the moment that you remove from, yeah, the news was the moment that there was a lot going on, but that you try like, yeah, to take care in all kind of what you're absorbing.
yeah. And of course, having your antennas open, right? Like, not being blind for the things that happen in the world, but
Mm.
try to consume it in a more healthy way.
Mm. There's definitely the subject of like sensitivity, protection, and or isolation that is coming, but I'm not going there because this podcast is called Flirting with the Edge, and there is like this not first question, but there is this question that I want to ask you. is. If you feel and or think, like either think or feel, what is one of the first experience that you feel in your life? Not first, but like, what is the first experience that comes to you when I say flirting with the edge in your own life? When is a moment in your life that you felt, wow, I really flirted with the edge?
Well, there are two thoughts coming, really. The first one was that I had an eating disorder when I was 11, and it lasted until I was 26. That felt very much like flirting with the ex, with the ex, with the ex, with the ex, because I had a big private happening going on between me and food, and when you look into the deeper layers between me and life, and that very much felt like flirting with the edge, because it's
Mm,
something is very private. It happens in your head. You have all control over it, and really no one gets between you and the eating disorder in my case. And so that very much felt like flirting with the edge of health, the edge of death, because it got really out of hand at some point. And then the second thing is quite a funny thing, is that when I was little, I don't remember how old I was, I threw myself off the stairs in the house of my parents just to see how it was, to see what
wow.
would happen. And actually nothing happened. It was just like tuk tuk tuk, and then I was down. Yeah.
I love
Mm.
that. Um, in the case just of the eating disorder, you said there was nothing that could get between you and the food. Do you mean like because it's in the relationship of it in your head, or because no matter if, I don't know if other people were aware of it, like no matter if there would be parents or doctors, it didn't matter? Like, what did you mean by no one
Yeah.
could get in between?
Yeah, maybe I said it wrong, and maybe it's more like between me and the disease, if you
Uh-huh.
want to call it a disease, or whatever you want to call it. But it's like you have a relationship um with the mistress. It really feels like that. It really feels like, like I knew someone who was trying to keep me safe by being perfect, which was, of course, I mean, totally out of proportion, no doubt
Yeah.
about it. But in that moment, it really felt like I know this entity, being, disease, condition, and no one else knows it like I
Mm,
do. No one knows what it feels like, what it gives me, you know?
yeah. Like hearing you, I'm like, wow, like indeed, like what an intimate relation that is edgy in that way, that you can sense it's like not doing you good, but at the same time, it's keeping you safe in a certain way. And so there's
Mm.
like edge in that. Sanne, did you ever fall from the edge except the time that you fell on purpose from the stairs? So,
For sure. Yeah, for sure. In love. Yeah.
wow, in love.
Yeah. Yeah. And then every time when I fell, I learned something, so I don't regret falling from the edge. Yeah.
I said you had multiple roles or masks or facets, and I know that two of them for me are like, is like you're like for me like also like a poet, someone who writes and is like a love artist. And you're also to me, you do represent a bit like Yahoo, by the way, um, like a lover, like the archetype of the lover. But I love because through you I learned, which at the time when you mentioned like being a heartbreaker, like how that's a good thing, being like a heartbreaker is like, yeah, there is something positive for me. The first time I was really shocked, to be honest. Like coming from like more the light feminine of like blue and like, oh, and only love, la la la. But can you tell me more than both from the times that you fell and why did you go back again into love, and what is for you heartbreaking, and how or what could be the great things about love breaking?
That's a great question. Well, it was also funny. I don't recall telling you that breaking hearts is good.
No,
Uh,
it's like a group. You were leading, or you had a group, not a group, but you were like, it was a practice. And we're
okay,
like, we had to name our group, and you chose like heartbreakers. And I was like,
breakers.
oh my
That's
gosh.
true. Yeah,
And just
yeah,
like for me, that was like out of the mind concept. You had already like, phew, and that's something I love about you. You have your own mind and you're like very clear about that. And for me, that's a super quality. But so I know that most of us, like people, we're like, what heartbreaking? No. And so just like relationship to love, to the edge of that. And yeah.
yeah. I mean, what more beautiful way is there than to have your heart broken, and not only in love. I mean, I remember for me, the times that my heart broke, I could see myself differently. I could see the world differently because there's kind of a shell that breaks or an armor that breaks, and everything, you know, to put it in a dramatic way, you know how you feel when you're in that state, like, oh, and everything I believe that it's not real, and you know, wow, what a great opportunity, you know, to to reassess what is what you think is reality, what you think it is that you want, how do you look at yourself, what are all of the things that you projected onto the other person. Uh, every time it happened for me, it were beautiful opportunities and also very confronting because most of the time my heart got broken, it was because I projected something onto someone and I wanted to go somewhere way too fast. And um, with too many expectations. Uh, so then there always also was an anger towards myself afterwards,
Uh-huh.
you know. Um, so yeah, that was when I fell off the edge in love, I guess. But yeah, I don't regret any of it.
Hmm. Thank you, dear. Hmm. I'm giving simply space and yeah, to this love and all the love stories. So if
Mm,
there is anything that your heart um, wants to share.
hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking about how beautiful it is. It, it would be if we could also celebrate the heartaches and the heartbreaks, you know. In our society, we're so used to celebrating the accomplished relationship.
Mm.
But how beautiful is it when you explore something together and you tried, but it exploded. It exploded into 1,000 pieces, and now you gotta pick the pieces up and wow, you can start all over again. That's also something to celebrate, right?
It is,
Yeah.
and I'm curious, how would you celebrate? Like, how would you celebrate it? And or if it was a ritual or something to celebrate in society, how would you like? How could it look like?
Whoa, that's really nice to brainstorm about. Well, first of all, to celebrate what was there, you know, to celebrate where two people met, on what level, and to celebrate that. I know it's not always possible, you know, sometimes there's a lot of emotions involved, but maybe you could even celebrate with yourself for the opportunity to start again,
Mm.
the opportunity to invent yourself again without
Mhm.
that person and the whole shebang that you imagined that would come with that,
Mhm.
to celebrate that you are a creature able to feel love and connection, and that you're an individual that knows what they want. Ah, I don't know. Something
I
like
love
that.
that. You just gave like a recipe for like this heartbreak celebration. Thank you.
Mm,
And I really think actually it's a brilliant idea in the sense of like, what if we actually really celebrate that? The
mm,
heartbreak and the that we had expectations or projections and like the celebration like bringing like the light into this darkness that we create in the chaos.
mm,
Okay. There are definitely at least two big themes that I was like, ooh, I'm getting on a call with Sanne, and it's been a long time we haven't talked. And also that I'm like, ooh, now today I get to have like another perspective. I get to be the one interviewing. So that's also a nice one.
mm,
Um, but because we've lived actually quite some experiences together, we were even roommates. I was your oyster at some point. And I love that. And by the like, I'm just mentioning that because then I got to see different faces of you. And that's why like today I really wanted to invite Sana as like the human, the part that is like, and that's going to be the second question is more like, how do you personally navigate more like being also a public figure, like also being on screens. But the first part is actually, I'm quite interested because you did have, and you do have, I believe, like several health conditions. And so for me, you have like, what's your relationship to pain and how has it evolved?
ooh, yeah, great question. Um,
Because I
yeah,
feel like specifically, I'm asking you specifically this because like, and just to mention why I'm asking you that, because it's a very broad question, but because like, I feel you've been confronted on many levels to pain that some people will never even like think of, whether it's physical pain or a mental, emotional. And of course, we all have pain, but you have like a direct contact in ways that
mm,
some other don't. And you still like continue to be active in so many levels. So very curious, how do you live from inside? What's this relationship to pain?
yeah, that's a great question. And also something actually I thought about yesterday. You know, um, there were periods in my life, and especially a period also when we were living together, that I was having so much pain every day, the whole day, and I think you remember, that it
Yeah.
just became uh, it, it it was hard for me to keep reminding myself that maybe at some point the pain would end because I was living inside of the pain. It was there already for years, and every day it was there. There were short moments that it wasn't there, and I was actively trying on multiple levels to find the root cause of this pain, if it was emotional, or maybe it was trauma, or it was I didn't like the deficiency, and I couldn't find it. And in the last 3 years, I think a lot of this has transformed because I've started uh, to notice that these are episodes,
Hmm.
and it's a different episode every time. And I do have the feeling that the hardest episodes are behind me, but I don't know if that is because I'm a positive. I try to be very positive, and also I think the way I live is easy for me to be positive. Um, and also, to be very honest and transparent, I do feel that if there must be a reason why I am confronted with pain, and maybe I'm also getting something out of it, because otherwise, why would it keep happening? I know this is very edgy to say. I'm not saying that this goes for other people. There are a lot of people in pain, and I'm just saying for me, I do sometimes see some patterns in that. And also what I uh, recognized over the last years is that, actually, to come back to the natural selector of real things, is that often when pain starts, it is coming from a dissonance. Whether I created that dissonance by eating something wrong, hurrying, not listening to myself, or not being really in a connection with someone, so feeling rushed or something, then my body will tell me immediately I will get pain in my belly.
Mhm.
Immediately. So it is a constant invitation to slow down. And I'm in the lucky position that I can I can take the opportunity to slow down. You know, although it's very hard.
I believe you with that.
Because my mind goes very fast, and yeah. So I mean, it's a practice.
Mm, thank you,
Yeah.
dear. And I definitely like believe and I resonate as well, like you were very nuanced, but I do believe indeed that usually when we do have some pain, we do somehow unconsciously get something from it. It's like weird, or at least it's like a challenge that brings us to something we would have never done or become if there wasn't this pain or challenge. So I definitely
Yeah,
receive you in
this
that.
yeah, and now I have traveled in Africa for 1.5 years. I also tend to doubt all of these beliefs, because
Hmm.
there are so many people that are in pain that I really,
Reason.
so yeah.
How is this then? Yeah, like very concretely right now, you're being faced with like when we're in Europe, but then we go into certain hubs, like especially spiritual hubs like Bali and or else, like we are in our mind bubble of more Western kind of. How is it like right now changing for you to be in Africa, traveling there?
Yeah, it confronts me with the part of me that is actually the colonizer.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds very broad, but it uh, confronts me with the part of me that is generalizing,
Mm-hmm.
and that is not something, that's not who I want to be, because I want to be a nice girl, and I want to respect everyone, and all cultures, and but actually it's very hard. And that has been very difficult, because sometimes um, I want to bring this in a nuanced way, but when you travel in a car and you drive approximately 5 hours a day, and you buy your food in the street, and especially in this part of the world, West Africa. Now we're in Southern Africa, in Namibia, but we were in West Africa for a long time. You are in contact with a specific group of people, which is
Mm-hmm.
not the middle class of the country. It is the lower educated people of the country. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that, absolutely not. But the gap in cultures is already so big that is a challenge on its own. And then also, when people are not educated, sometimes it is very challenging to get, for example, practical things done or make real contact. That is not the fault of the other or me, but it's just the clash of different worlds.
Mhm.
And I find myself generalizing a lot, and it is so hard,
Mm.
you know. Um, but it also made me think, we are in such we're in such a luxurious, privileged position. We're reconnecting, I see. Are we
All
still
good.
there?
Yeah.
Okay. That we can even think about slowing down. Think about having your heart broken. I mean, okay, love is universal, but if you don't have food and water, yeah, your heart is broken, but you're still hungry. It's,
Yeah.
so a friend of mine posted this very spiritual post at some point when we were in Nigeria, um, about if it's a dream, it is not a dream. It is a dream for a reason, because it is going to happen in the future. It is actually already there. And I was like, yeah, yeah, maybe for you because you're born in Europe, but I'm sure that all the kids in the street that I've seen have a dream, and I'm not really sure if it's going to come true. So
Mm.
that definitely made me aware of the privileged thoughts that I can have just
Mm.
by the fact that I was born in the Netherlands.
Mm.
No.
Beautiful, powerful realization. And I'm curious if you have any other heart message that you want to share from that place before I ask you something else that is coming up. But I'm feeling this, like the traveling that you are on right now, like really insightful, but also like coming back to this presence and nuancing, and also the privilege of like all this questioning that we can have when actually there's another part is like, hey, like that is absolutely different, and yet we're in the same planet.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to, I guess that's what my heart has been speaking very loud this trip, because it's hard to bring the pieces together. Sometimes it's hard to comprehend that reality is actually very scattered, very different for everyone. And and then to remain open in that pain and unfairness. And also sometimes, I was being treated very unfair and without respect. And then
Yeah.
also you understand why, because you look at history and you think, yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
I understand that you don't like the color of my skin. I understand. And I'm sad because I'm me and I'm not
Yeah.
that person from then. So, and then to bring all these pieces together, sometimes it was very, it's just not possible, when you're also moving all the time. Yeah, it was for the heart, it was very stretching.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hearing both the part of you that welcomes the scattered reality, and also the part is like, hey, it's hard and I'm a human too. And this
Mm.
links me to another question that I had to you, my dear, is a part of me was like wondering like how is it to be in the mind and the body of Sanne? And especially like, and you spoke about this scattered reality, but what I love is like when we have some experiences in life and then we have another life. And I feel you have that too. Like we can have like several different kinds of lives at the same time. And something that for me was like, wow, you are an actress that is even on Netflix, which for me is like, because nowadays Netflix is the thing. I'm like, okay, how is it for you to be both a public figure, having tantric shamanic experiences where for me it's like going and really diving deep into consciousness and having weird experiences, and then also like traveling in Africa and having all those constellations. And I don't know if you're still listening to me because you're frozen, but if you are, let me know if you're here. Okay, so we're back after some technical things. So hopefully everything will be great. And so maybe that was the edgy question that the system was like, oh, but no, actually, that's not so such an. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, good. It doesn't feel so edgy, but it can feel it's like, how do you dance with the edge of being like what I would call like a public figure, like as it as I said, but maybe it's not recorded, like on Netflix, that people can actually literally see you on the screen and project and be like, oh, an idealize. And yet at the same time, I've known you for me is like we've had some crazy tantric shamanic experience, super deep, super profound. And how do you navigate those different worlds? Like both being on screen, being in tantric shamanic spaces, traveling in Africa. And so how do you navigate with that? But there is another question like, do, for instance, your different worlds know about each other? Like, do your colleagues where you're an actress know that you're also into Tantra, for instance? Just curiosity, like how is it to be inside Sanne?
Great question. Can you hear me good here? Because there's a little bit of whoa in the kitchen.
Yeah, there's some echo, but it's gonna be okay.
Okay. Actually, it bothers me, so I'm gonna navigate first us to back to the other room. I hope I charged.
Navigate us between worlds. Just like that's my question. How do you navigate?
The world. We've been here before, and we're
Oh,
back. Yeah. Now you can also see that I'm not wearing so much because it's hot. Actually, I'm not super interested in whether people know that or not. I like also being a bit mysterious, to be honest. Because you know why? I notice in myself that when I know what people do, I can also easily put them in a like a little square, and I try to practice not to do that with other people. And so I also like when people cannot do that with me.
hmm.
So I foremost like it when people see me as a human and as someone they can connect with or not. That's also okay. If you don't like each other, that's also fine. But not because liking because you're an actress or finding you interesting because you practice Tantra or because, and yeah, I assume some people do know that, and people that care and ask, they know. But I'm not spreading around all the things I do because yeah, this is not really my style, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you, love. And I
Does
love
that answer?
it does. And it makes me fall in love even more with your own style, love. There are two last questions that I want to ask. And a part of me is like, okay, maybe we'll need in the future to have a second call to dive even deeper. Because I asked you spontaneously before the call, like, can you send me some pictures that were pivotal moments? And you sent me some. And as I do want to also close up gently this call, I'm curious, like, is there one picture that you remember, like, oh, I sent her this picture that can you present me this picture? And or what's the first one that comes up to you from the ones that you sent me and why?
I guess the first one that comes up was actually at the ISTA festival. Uh, this picture where I'm in a dancing, and I didn't know someone was taking a picture, and I think this one comes to mind because you were also there, uh, and it's a big part of also our becoming friends and sisters.
Hmm.
So that's why this picture comes to mind, I guess.
Beautiful. And I was just reminded, just right as we came before the call, I was like, oh my God, I just remember how our story started. And I love the funny how it evolved, like from one polarity to the other. And that's cosmic, beautiful joke. But we're not going to go into that because my last question is,
Oh no!
ah, that would be for another call, for another cake.
Right. Okay. Yes, let's
Unless
keep
you
it.
want to
Yes,
mention
okay.
something about it. You can. We can. We can take time for that.
I mean, it's very beautiful. We don't have to take so much time, but it is beautiful to like, if people would, if I would be listening now, I would be very curious to be, okay, so come on, how did you meet? And we met because we shared a lover. We shared a lover, and on paper, you should become very unfriendly towards and jealous, towards each other. Uh, and not to say that those feelings weren't there, but we navigated through them, and a beautiful friendship became uh, out of that. And how many years is that ago? 5, 6, I
Yeah,
think.
2020 or 2021, so 2020 probably. Yeah, beautiful. And I love how you beautifully summarized it. We shared the lover, and from that place, actually, we navigated it with all the ups and downs and the drama at the beginning and the unfolding and the natural unfolding from that.
Yeah.
And so, one question that I still have is, what is a project or desire or something you would love to live or accomplish or simply experience before dying in this life?
Becoming a mom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very.
Oh,
Yeah. The I think the spiritual initiation that awaits me was very, very selfish thought, but that's what I have, uh, of carrying, conceiving a soul, human being that you don't know, and carrying it and bringing it into this world and getting to know it, and by that getting to know yourself better and your partner, and seeing the world through the eyes of a new soul. I think I don't know, I cannot even imagine what that would be like. I think it's going to be very hard, but I'm also very much looking forward to that. I really hope that that's going to happen.
and I so wish you that, dear. And I love you freaking so much. And thank you. Thank you for being you, for your openness, for sharing yourself with me, with us. And I look forward the day we meet again. Belgium, Africa, Switzerland, I don't know. Um, Definitely thank you for this time. Thank you for your truth. Is there any last words that you want to share? I don't know if there is anything that you want to share. I don't know if you have workshops or anything that you're like, wow, this is how people can get in contact with you, or simply if you have heart words, you have some words if you have some space if you want.
Well, first, I want to thank you for your questions. It's very nice to be interviewed by you. I
Mm.
sometimes get interviewed, but then it's always because of my job. So it's nice to, like the actress job, that part. So it's nice to get a different set of questions from a friend. That's nice. It opens the opportunity for a conversation that we might not have in another kind of context. So I really enjoyed it. And if people want to, yeah, I mean, if I could have a request or an invitation, it would be now 2 years since I've worked, and I have this really deep longing of organizing a workshop that is called Eros and Activism, because this is also a search I have in myself, how to use the life force to actually say something that matters in this time, even though it can be as small as authentic expression, but it can also be as big as making a theater piece about fossil fuels and why they need to end, you know. And I really have this wish of navigating that with a group.
Mm.
So if anyone hears this and thinks that's for me, then they should really contact me, because I really want to organize a group that is passionate about this and together explore this more and share. And yeah.
Why is Eros activism important to you?
It's important because I feel that Eros is everything, right? Is the life force, is the wind, it's the poetry, it's all of that. And um, if we use that, we all have that. We can all be in contact with that and have our own unique expression of how Eros wants to move through us, whether it's through painting or running or having deep conversations or music or dancing, whatever. And I think it's important that we canalize that energy to create something that creates connection and more authenticity in the world.
Mm.
That's why.
So using Eros as life force for more connection and authenticity in life. Thank you so much, Sanne. Thank you for your love, for your authenticity, your truth. I look forward to more of you. And for the ones listening and watching, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you for new adventures, new exploration with Flirting of the Edge. Take care.